Well, the World Health Organization says there are no hospitals left in the north of Gaza that are still able to function as the Israel-Hamas war rages on. So talks in Egypt on a temporary ceasefire yesterday are said to have made little progress, whilst the UN Security Council has again delayed voting on a resolution calling for a suspension of fighting in Gaza. Earlier, sirens sounded in Tel Aviv as rockets were intercepted over Israel. Let's get the latest now from our correspondent Trent Murray in Tel Aviv. Trent, good afternoon and thanks for joining us at this hour. Early on, you posted on social media that your building was shaking. Could you tell us what happened? What's been unfolding since then?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's not necessarily too uncommon for this to happen where rockets are fired from Gaza towards Israel, and then what happens is the Iron Dome air defense system will intercept them. Now, what we witnessed today was a fairly sizable barrage fired towards Tel Aviv. The Iron Dome system activated and intercepted them over the city, or a city of around 300,000 people, I should add. What can happen then is you sort of feel the kinetic energy of the explosion overhead. So with no immediate reports of injury. Sometimes people have to be very cautious about shrapnel falling or bits of rocket, but everything here is absolutely fine and safe. You just sort of stay inside and make sure that you take cover during that time. But I think what it does reveal is that 76 days into this war, that Hamas does still possess the capability to fire those rockets, which is, of course, keeping the Iron Dome and the IDF hyper aware of the threat and trying to make sure that they can intercept them, not just here, but in multiple cities across the country.
Speaking about Israel and Hamas, day 76, in fact, as you've just said, reports of the death toll in Gaza now hitting 20,000 as fighting continues and there are delays in the ceasefire. What's the latest on that front as we're speaking as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's been another night and day of heavy bombardment across the Gaza Strip as the IDF continues in its ground and air assault of the besieged region. You know, we know around 1.92 million people are living there. The UN is saying about 90% of them are now homeless or displaced because of this conflict. We have seen in the past day the IDF say that they've uncovered a vast tunnel network in the centre of Gaza, under Gaza City. They say that that network had living quarters and offices and was used by Hamas's leadership, particularly during the October 7th attack. But we know that the humanitarian situation, of course, is just continuing to go from worse to worse. There is a shortage of food and medicine and water on the ground, according to the UN, which is why a lot of hope had been put behind these talks between Hamas and Israel, which were being negotiated via essentially a middleman being Egypt. No major progress on that front, it would appear, because Hamas has said today in a statement that there will be no talk of exchanges of prisoners or hostages unless Israel ceases completely its war on Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister here, says anyone that has that idea is, quote, detached from reality.
Trent, just very quickly as you wrap up, what's the latest following the Houthi military group attack? The US responding, there's talks of that 10 coalition formation, fears of escalation. What's happening on that front?
Yeah, look, I mean, those naval assets from that coalition continue to move into the region. We've actually heard in the past couple of hours, Greece has decided to join, taking the number of countries led by the US to 11. This is all around trying to protect those vital shipping lanes. We saw an uptick on attacks on cargo vessels and the like, and they are really important international waters for global trade and commerce. About 12% of the world's trade traverses through there. No reports today of any large-scale attacks by the Houthis as the navies of those countries move into the region, but we do know it's certainly hurting global shipping firms, many of which now are changing their itineraries to actually, instead of going through that region here into the Mediterranean, are now going down through basically literally past South Africa and around the African continent. That adds about 11 to 12 days to their journey, which is very expensive and pushes up the price of the cargo that they are carrying.
Trent, thank you for joining us at this hour and for that update. SABC News correspondent Trent Murray, live in Tel Aviv, just bring us the latest in the Middle East. Of course, we're looking at the developments since the Houthi military group attack in the Red Sea, and also what's transpiring 76 days into the Israel-Hamas war.